Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. So for today's video, I want to share 50 things I do not buy or own as a minimalist. And I have made videos like this before in the past, but it's been a really long time. So I felt like I wanted to make an updated version for you. As always, take from this video what you can use and leave the rest. We are all very different, and what works well for me might be very different for you. So do what works best for you. I decided not to buy these things anymore for various reasons. Minimalism is a big one, of course, also just either saving money or environmental reasons or health reasons. So be sure to share the things that you are not buying anymore in the comment section down below. I don't own a toaster, kind of a random one to begin with, but I do think that it's something that most people do own, and we don't really toast that much here, and if we do, we can always make toast in the oven, so it's just kind of a big appliance that I don't really need. We have really been minimizing our furniture for the last couple of years, and one category of furniture that we do not want to own are side tables. And I actually do really like the look of side tables. I think they're kind of pretty. But I prefer not to have one in my home because they don't really serve a clear function, and they can easily become one of those places that gets cluttered with a bunch of random things. So I prefer not to have one in the house. We don't own a fancy vacuum or like a small handheld vacuum or a Roomba robot vacuum type thing. We just have the regular old kind of boring vacuum. And I can really see how it would be nice to have one around, especially if you have kids or pets. But we don't, and I don't mind vacuuming twice a week with the regular one, so that is enough for me. I stopped buying special skincare products. I used to buy a bunch of them, but now I only have a moisturizer, a cleanser, and a sunblock for the warmer months. And I have to say my skin is super easy. I'm really blessed with easy skin. So I can definitely imagine why someone would want to purchase special skincare products, especially if they work for them. But for me, these three things are enough. I also stopped buying scarves. Now, I used to have a bunch of different scarves, and I think shopping for scarves is really... scarves is a weird word if you say it that often. But yes, shopping for scarves is really fun because they don't cost that much and you always look good in them. It's not like they don't have your size or it's not flattering for your figure, things like that. Scarves always look good. So that's why I think that it's easy to accumulate a lot of scarves, which is why I decided to stop buying scarves. I just have the one that I can combine with all kinds of different outfits, and that's enough for me. We don't buy dryer sheets, and that is because we don't use a dryer. I line dry all my laundry, and that also saves us on electricity costs. Now, I can definitely imagine if you have a larger family that living without a dryer would be kind of like a living nightmare. But for me, it's just the two of us, so line drying works perfectly. I also stopped buying cookbooks, and I used to have a bunch of them around, and some of them I bought for myself, and some of them were gifted to me by people. And to be frank, I still really love the look and feel of cookbooks, but it's just so much more practical to go online for your recipes instead of having all these cookbooks around. So sometimes I will go to the store and I enjoy flipping through some cookbooks, but I don't buy them anymore. Number 8, I also stopped buying phone cases for two reasons. First, I don't really see the need to own multiple of them. I just have this really simple see-through case that works fine. My screen is dirty. And reason number 2 is that my phone is usually an older model and they don't really sell cases for these models anymore. I switched over to an e-reader about 6 years ago after a careful consideration because I love books. I love like the feel of physical books. But I have to say I love it so much. I read a lot, and this way my books don't take up any physical space in my house. And it's also a special screen. I get a lot of questions about my e-reader in the comments usually. And it's a special like e-ink screen that reads like paper, and there's also no backlight to it. So it's not like if you're reading an e-reader on your iPad, for example. It's very different and it's very easy on the eyes. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with me in the comments on this one, and that is totally fine. I completely understand because there's just something magical about books that e-readers don't have. I get it. So if your books make you happy, please keep them around. There's nothing wrong with that. For me, an e-reader is just the better choice. I don't want to take on meal delivery subscriptions. I prefer to decide for myself what I'm going to make and when. And I also think that doing my own grocery shopping ultimately is way cheaper. I've also become quite careful with point cards or like loyalty programs that they offer in cafes and stores and everything, because they offer them basically everywhere I go nowadays, and it's also quite annoying. Usually you have to give up your personal information to get them, and they kind of lure you in with sales, like a one-time offer, and then you have to have that card with you every time. You have to carry it around with you or like add it to your phone, things like that, and I just don't really like it. So I usually say no, unless it's like my favorite coffee place that I go to every week or every other week. I might say yes, but otherwise I'll say no. I realize that I sound a little old-fashioned right now. I usually do. Sometimes I feel like a grandmother, but I don't really like smart lighting. I prefer to have just regular old lamps without hooking them up to the internet. I know I have one of those over there with the colors and everything. They're really nice, but they are the older models that you don't have to hook up to the internet, and I specifically bought it because of the fact that it's not smart lighting. I just don't really get it, and for me just a regular lamp works better. I don't own or want to own a Fitbit, and sometimes it feels to me like I'm the only person in the world who doesn't want a Fitbit or doesn't own a Fitbit. But for me, again, I just don't really see the need or the point. I mean, I get why they could come in handy for some people, but I also feel like my life is going well without one, and this is one of those things, falls into the categories of, yes, I could buy one, but I could also not buy one, and would it make much of a difference? And I also don't really like to wear something around my wrist all day and night either. I'm curious, am I the only one here who thinks like this? Let me know your thoughts about the Fitbit. I'm really curious. Please leave that in the comments. Number 14, I stopped buying uncomfortable shoes, and I also decluttered the ones that I still had. I have one pair of heels left, but they're actually quite comfortable, and I used to feel like heels were worth the pain somehow. I don't think like that anymore, and I also feel like if I am comfortable and if my feet are like not in pain, that will probably radiate into my appearance somehow more than if I were to feel very uncomfortable, if that makes sense. We don't buy holiday decorations or any kind of seasonal decor. This may seem really boring if you're into that sort of stuff, and of course it's okay to own them, but for me personally, I don't really like the idea of having a lot of things in my home that I have to store all year only to bring them out once a year. And also, we don't really have a lot of built-in storage space in this apartment. Usually Dutch homes don't have like much built-in storage space. I also don't have a garage or things like that. So if I were to own those types of items, I would probably have to buy furniture to store them, and I really don't want to do that. And we do have one fake Christmas tree that we use every year, and one box of ornaments that we use to fill up the tree, and that is it. I don't buy a new phone every year or even every other year. My current phone is 4 years old and it still works fine. It has become a little slower, but other than that, it still works fine. And I plan to use it until it's completely not usable anymore. And this saves me a ton of money too. I don't buy exercise clothing other than the very practical exercise clothing that I already own. I just don't really feel the need to own like specific outfits for specific workouts. I know that for some sports you do need something specific, but for the ones that I do, it doesn't really matter. And I just have 2 pairs of yoga pants and then one exercise outfit for colder weather and one for hot weather that I use for years and years now, and these all work fine, so I don't need any specific exercise clothing or outfits. Another thing that we don't own anymore is workout equipment, and we used to have a lot of it actually. We used to have all kinds of free weights that needed to be stacked on like a rubber mat, so this really thick rubber mat so they wouldn't damage the floor. We'd have like a bench and a home trainer, all these things. And after a while, we were hardly ever using them. And you know, the home trainer just became a place to hang laundry on. And we were getting really sick of it. So we just sold the whole bunch. Now I just work out using my own body weight, and that is plenty challenging enough for me anyway. And I have one yoga mat, and that works perfectly fine. Since I exercise at home, I also don't need any exercising subscriptions. So exercising for me is completely free, except for kind of like 2-3 times a year that we go to play tennis, at which point we will probably just rent a court somewhere. I don't buy or own any special events clothing. First, because I don't go to many special events. And second, because if I do go somewhere, I just don't mind wearing my normal everyday dress to go there. I don't mind if people have seen me in it before, and it is plenty special to me enough. And you can also always just borrow something or rent something for a specific location or a specific event. I also stopped buying uncomfortable underwear, and that is because there is plenty of underwear to find that still looks pretty and that feels comfortable on the skin. So a while ago, I learned that not all the brands I was buying are really cruelty-free when it comes to beauty products. And some of them were still having their products tested on animals, which is something that I really don't want to support. So I stopped buying them, I boycott these brands, and I now buy from brands that are in fact cruelty-free. And sometimes I get questions about this, so if you want to know if your favorite brand is cruelty-free, then usually a quick Google search will tell you. That is how I do it too, and usually that works pretty well. So just a little bit of research and you'll know. We don't own a car, and that means that we also don't have to pay for anything that comes with a car. Now, this is doable for us because, again, we don't have kids, we live in the city, we have excellent public transportation here, and biking is also really safe. So I am really grateful that we can get by without owning a car. I also made the decision to stop buying decor items for the home. We still have a few of them around, as you can see right there, that we absolutely love and that are our favorites, but the rest we decluttered. I still love to go to stores that sell decor items because I love the way that they look and they make everything feel so special. But I just now like to appreciate them in the store. I don't need to buy them anymore for myself because I know that like 90% of it is novelty and it'll wear off. And if I have this item in my home for a couple months, it just becomes another thing that lives here. And so I made the choice to stop buying decor items. I have never really understood belts myself. I feel like they are very uncomfortable and I don't know, I don't feel good wearing a belt. I think they kind of look silly on me somehow. So I don't own any belts anymore. Number 26, we're over halfway now. So another thing that I do not spend any money on is apps or games on my phone. Sometimes people request kind of like a what's on my phone video, but it is so basic, there's hardly anything on there. I just use it to communicate with the people I know and I use it for work and that's it. So it's really basic. I really love to cook, and when it comes to kitchen appliances, we own a small hand mixer, a blender and a small food processor, and that is it. And with these three things, I can make like 95% of the recipes that I am interested in. And for me, just purchasing another kitchen appliance is not worth that last 5% of the things that I now cannot make. I also don't buy any health fad foods or detox things, cleansing juices, stuff like that. And that is first because I think that they are crazy expensive. And second, because I don't really believe in them. I like the 80-20 principle when it comes to food and health, like eating healthy 80% of the time, because that is healthy, at least healthy enough. And for me, it's something that I can maintain long term. And if you do that, I don't see the need to do kind of like these crazy expensive detox juices, cleansing things, you know, things like that. Candles, air fresheners, scented things, I don't buy them. I don't know if this is really true or like scientifically proven, but they often say that they can have harmful chemicals in them and I just don't want to risk it. And also my throat is kind of sensitive anyway somehow, so I am always very careful with scented things. I do use essential oils sometimes, but even with those I'm very careful. And with candles, even if they're not scented, I don't really buy them because I don't use them enough to have a lot of them around. Number 30, when it comes to paper towels, I feel like if we did buy them, we would probably use them so much because they are so handy and they would run out so quickly. So I just prefer not to get used to having them around and instead use like reusable wipes and towels, things like that. A few years ago, we made the choice to stop buying souvenirs on our trips. And frankly, this is still challenging for me, but I just practice looking at them there, appreciating them there without feeling the need to bring them home with me. The only thing that we do still buy is tacky fridge magnets because somehow I just really like them. Bottled water. I don't really understand why this is still such a big thing because it's so easy to bring your own water bottle with you when you go out. Maybe I'm overlooking something, but for me, I always bring my own water and that works fine and I don't need to buy bottled water. I also don't subscribe to any magazines, and I also stopped buying them. I used to buy like a yoga magazine every now and then and flip through it, but it started bothering me how much of it is basically just advertising for really fancy, expensive yoga stuff that I don't need, and it only makes me want to buy things like that, so I prefer just not having them around. Number 34 of the things I don't buy anymore is animal products, because I'm vegan, so that's easy. I also stopped buying new notebooks and stationery, even though I really like them, but I always use just one notebook, and when it is full, I recycle it, I get a new one, and I just really make a thing of it. I go search for like a really cute new notebook, and it's kind of like an outing for me. And when it comes to stationery, I always use the same pen anyway, so that's enough for me. For health reasons and environmental reasons, we don't buy any sugared drinks anymore. I really like the taste of sugared drinks, to be honest, and also things like juices or iced tea, but I prefer not to get used to having them around and instead just make something for myself really nice, just fresh, minty, or just, I also really like to drink water, tea, coffee, things like that, and it's much healthier. Number 37, this is kind of weird maybe, but I do not own a bathrobe because I always wear pajamas, so I don't really see when I would wear a bathrobe. Throw pillows, we don't have them on the bed. We have a very simple bed that is very practical, and I do like the look of throw pillows, but I just don't want to have to put them all, take them all off at night and then put them all back in the morning. So I just prefer to have a very simple bed that I think is just as pretty. Number 39 is trendy items. So if I find that I want to buy something, I always take a moment to quickly ask myself, do I maybe want to buy this because it's trendy right now? And if that is the case, I don't, because trends fade really fast, and I just think it's a waste of money that way. So unless I know for sure that this is something that I'm going to wear again and again and again, even if it goes out of style, I don't want to buy fast trends. Number 40, we're almost at the end, is cheap jewelry and accessories. I stopped buying them. You know, the kind that only lasts for about a year max and it turns your skin green if you wear them. I talk more about that in my jewelry declutter video. I will link it right here if you're interested. I also stopped buying wine. Somehow I used to buy wine or pick up a bottle if it got good reviews or something like that, but you know what, I just don't really like wine that much, and my boyfriend doesn't either, so we decluttered our wine glasses too, because why have wine glasses if you don't buy wine? And sometimes I might order a glass of wine in a restaurant if I am in the mood for it, or if someone brings over a bottle of wine, I will enjoy it, but it's just not my favorite. One of the best decisions that I've ever made is to stop buying impulse buys. I always take a few days to think it over, and usually I come to the conclusion that I would rather not buy it or not own it. And if I still want it after a few days, I can always go back and get it. Same with sales. If you want to live a more minimalist life, then this is a really good tip. I always just walk past the sale stuff because I always get tempted to buy something that I don't need just because I feel like I'm getting a good deal. And remember, if you don't need it, you're not saving anything. So I just walk past the sale stuff, and if I do find myself wanting to buy something that can wait a while, then I might wait and see if I can get it on sale, but other than that, I just walk past the sale stuff. And of course, in case items. And this is where minimalism on the one hand and frugality on the other hand kind of clash a little bit. And I can definitely see why people would like to keep in case items around. One is not necessarily better than the other. For me personally, I like to have more space and own less things over always having the right item around to deal with any type of situation. But again, it's personal preference. Number 45 is flowers, and I love plants. I actually have about 14 of them. You can see a couple of them right there. But I don't buy flowers anymore. Sometimes if someone brings over flowers, I love it and I love displaying them. I do have a vase for it, so sometimes I will have flowers in the house, but I don't buy them anymore because I feel like it's kind of a waste of money to spend $10 or $15 on flowers that only last a week if you can spend the same amount of money on a plant that will basically last forever. I also decided to stop buying any glasses or dishes or mugs, bowls, things like that, because I love buying them, and if it were up to me, I would never stop buying them. But we live with 2 people here and we have more than enough of them, and I don't want to own any more. So this is just another conscious choice that I made. I also don't buy any plastic bags when I go shopping. It's just as easy to bring a reusable bag with me, and I always have a small canvas bag in my purse that I take with me everywhere. So it's just really easy, and that way you don't have to buy a plastic one. Number 48, I talked about my phone before, and something else that I don't buy is any large data package for my phone. So I think it has like 500 MB for a month on there, and that is more than enough for me because I'm almost never on my phone unless it's for work and I'm in the house. And I can use Wi-Fi, so that cheapest bundle, I think it cost me like $8 a month, and that is all I spend on my phone, so that's really nice. Number 49, we're almost there. My boyfriend and I decided a couple years ago to stop giving each other anniversary gifts. First, because we just couldn't really think of an anniversary gift to give each other, and second, because we much rather go out, do something fun together, share an experience, instead of buying each other a present. And lastly, organizers like stowaway boxes or cabinets, filing things. Since we don't have a lot of stuff, all our stuff fits well in our furniture that we have for it. So we don't need any organizers to keep things looking neat and tidy. So that is another thing that I don't buy. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end of this video. I am so thirsty right now after all this talking, so I'm going to drink a nice big cup of tea. Please give this video a like because that helps, and of course subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Right here I have a video about how to declutter your home during lockdown, and right here I have my jewelry declutter video. As always, questions, comments and conversations down below, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye!